Yes, indeed. Cut that out. Cut that out.
No,
Man, it's that kind of day. I do want you to know it is definitely that kind of day.
it's time to go jump in the shower and go to bed.
You know what I'm talking about?
I gotta
Good
do
evening.
some things in the morning.
Yes, right. And it's only Tuesday.
I know.
So welcome back. Welcome back, family.
Mhm.
Welcome back to the Roundtable Talk Show on the Knowledge is Power podcast live. I'm your host, Christopher Unk Jones. And it's like we said, it's Tuesday again. It's Tuesday again. This is episode 54. You hear me? 5-4. Because if my grandmother was alive, she'd be like, 50 what? It is episode 54. And if you've been rocking with us, you already know this table do not run from questions. We lean into them. God bless you.
Excuse me.
And tonight we're not following a particular headline. We're not lining up with our normal show. And so I definitely want you to know that this is Potluck Tuesday. And so at the round table, and we had this format once before. That's when Dr. Campbell had our phone broken, and so now that she is back, I had to definitely run that potluck format back. And so like I said, this is the round table talk. This is open table. This is what we're gonna talk. What it is. And so like everybody got a potluck, right? Each voice brought is gonna bring something that made them stop this week, um, and notice something, take notice to something. And so that's what I asked my co-host on this evening to do for this particular episode was bring something that they noticed throughout the week or just noticed, right? That was beneficial to, our listening and watching family. And so that's how we're gonna move this table today. Um, of course, everybody at my table gonna be real. Uh Everybody's going to be talking about it, just what a few people actually is thinking about. So tonight we think in public, disciplined, structured, but free, right? So to our listeners and viewers, go ahead in the chat, drop your city in the chat, drop your city and your state in the chat, if you will. Oh, and also drop 54 54 in the chat if you locked in. Let's build. Um, of course, I got my co-host with me. Um, there are my strength, and I'm expecting the other two to step up in here. But of course, I got my big sister with me, Dr. Catherine Campbell. Miss Cat, say hello to the people, man.
Hello, people.
Yes, indeed. She is the precision mind, cuts through the noise. If it doesn't make sense, she gonna ring that. Yes, indeed. I appreciate you on this evening, big sis.
Thank you.
Perry Busby, of course. Perry Busby, he might tip in. Of course, he's our numbers man, our pattern reader, our data guy, right? Um, so he keeps us from guessing. That's why he's at the table. Like I said, I'm quite sure my big bro gonna tip in, and if not, you know, there's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one, even if not. And of course, my little brother Dustin Harris, the veteran mindset, ground level truth from shooter from the hip. No fluff, no sugar. That's my little brother, Jaguar for life. Tonight, again, like I said, y'all, it's not about performance, it's about clarity. So, I think I want to taste your food first, Miss Cat. again, like I said, the format remind just so that you could be reminded, the format for this particular show, we have each co-hosts will have a round instead of a round of shots, and they will uncover their potluck um, that they so choose on this evening. Each person gets a few minutes to, to set it up, set the table. What is it that we gonna be chewing on? Why is it caught? Why has it caught your attention, and you want to present this to the table? And why should we care? And so, then, of course, after they acknowledge all of that, the table is going to respond, and then we'll move on from there. And after um, everybody at the table weighs in on that particular thing, then we'll have our co-host, the presenter of that particular pot. Uh, we'll let them close out that particular subject, and so. And then of course we will definitely try to keep the audience engaged as much as we possibly can. But I don't want to box us in. I don't want to, keep us always on the same flow of how this round table is going to move. And so, like, yeah, that's where we at. Round one, Dr. Campbell. I'll let you open the table. Being that we're the only two here. So yeah, Queen, go ahead, present us with your potluck. I'm ready to eat.
Okay. So I was thinking about our children. How did we get here?
Mm,
Yes. So I began to think about number one, you can't teach an old dog new tricks,
mm.
right? And the reason I started there is because a lot of times we say, oh, they're just a baby. Let them go. It's okay. They're just having fun. It's all right.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, but it's not, because the way you let them start is the way they're going to finish.
Mm,
And if you're letting them be out of control as little children, that's what they're going to be as bigger children and as adults as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, Go ahead.
that's my setup.
Oh man, so I agree. Because I mean, like, chastisement's supposed to, and that's along the lines of what you're talking about. I'm assuming.
It is.
Uh, it happens. It has to happen early, you know, and not to a point to where um it's perceived as abuse, right? Verbal or physical abuse. But chastisement has to happen. The scripture, PK to PK, says that we are to bend the sap early, right?
And
And
to
so
train a
that
child the way he should go.
exactly, exactly. And so yeah, I agree. And it even it like you said, it has to happen early and it has to happen in spaces that um decorum, if you will, is a matter of fact. You can't allow your child to just run around the courthouse. I mean, you can, there's consequences. um you can't just let your child run around the church. They do.
Well, there's a reason they say that you can't bring children in the courthouse, in the courtroom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and just like I said, I mean, how, like, in some instances, PK to PK, um, we see how back in the day, a child would be sort of kind of outlandish in church,
Mm.
and they would take them out, into the vestibule or into any one of the men's or women's restrooms, and then they come back and that's a totally different child.
Absolutely.
You didn't have to worry about that child getting up, running around no more, going in the choir stand while service is going on, you know. And
Crawling under the benches.
yeah, yeah. And everybody in that church, by the time you got picked up, everybody in that church had already done looked at your grandmother or your aunt or your uncle and then gave them that side head with the wink like a dog, like, you really gonna let this baby move around here like that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I agree, Queen. It has to, discipline, let alone correction, and chastisement has to happen early because, again, like you said, you go into adulthood believing that these are the ways, or this is this is acceptable in society. And in some spaces it's not, in some communities it's not. And and it has nothing to do with your socioeconomic status. It has everything to do with, your upbringing and the consequences that you remember from, going awry.
Too often we say, I don't want to raise my children the way I was raised, or I don't want to give them how what I got along the way, but it didn't hurt you.
I mean, and in some instance, Queen, I hear that. I hear that, especially if you didn't have structure at your place of residence, right?
Or
If
if you
you
had structure. A lot of times that's the ones that say, I don't want to raise my kids the way I was raised.
Right, right, right. And especially if, like for me, especially if I know you come from a structured household and you come back in your adulthood, because I got a lot of classmates that'll say that. I don't want to raise my kids like we was raised, Chris. Excuse me?
Hmm.
Your mama not only did not let you enter or exit her house any kind of way, she didn't let us enter or exit her house any kind of way. We couldn't hold any kind of discussions around your mama. So tell me, what kind of way were you waywardly raised? Of course, I mean, like I know that I didn't stay the night at your house, but especially if my foot fed under your table, what way is you not trying to raise your kid?
Hmm.
And that's the, I guess, like, area of I guess, like, void that hits me when people say that, especially if I know that you came from a structured household, whether it was with your grandparents, whether it was with your parents, because I'm not gonna say that everybody lived with their mama or had good mamas or had good daddies. That's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. Hear me and hear me well when I say this. I understand that everybody did not have access right off or all the way through their young lives with structure and a sound, consistent adult. Jaja talked about that last week. Consistency, and again, understanding that not all parents, let alone black parents, had access to be comfortable in raising their offspring. Um, I mean, I'm a product of a single family household. My mother was a single woman until she got married. It didn't, you know what I'm saying, make me go out to do some of the things that I saw in the streets. Some of the things that I saw in the streets is what made me not do what what I saw happening in the street. Um, and Dustin said as well last week, you could learn a lot from a dummy, not calling the person themselves dumb, but the actions that they took were considered to be, for me to be dumb, especially for you to either be in a position, a compromising position, um, that you didn't even have to be in, right? Uh, a choice that you made, if you will, got you in this situation. It's not your upbringing. It's not the structure that's around you. It's not the lessons that were taught. It's everything that you chose not to adhere to.
True. And so you wonder, how did we get here, or why are our children acting this way? But if you follow that kid home, you're going to find parents that are acting the exact same way.
And that's deep, Queen.
It's terrible. Yeah.
That's deep. Even when we try to figure out, well, how did they get access to these types of weapons, right? As a young person, um, most of the times we're so disconnected from our young people. They got the gun out of a spot you had your gun in it, and so like whether the gun is registered to you or you bought it off the street and it wasn't registered to nobody, or however the case may be, whether they, because we have to realize that they have access to more than what we had access to as teens. Um, they could have probably bought it off the black market themselves.
And these kids are so perceptive, a lot of, and the parents are so careless at this point that they're just leaving them
Mm.
hanging around, laying around anyways.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then two, I went to your neighborhood association meeting and as well as our neighborhood association meeting. We always get our police report and somebody had, their car broken into, left their doors unlocked or whatever the case may be overnight. Of course, you don't want to feel like a prisoner in your own community. I totally understand. But if you're going to have your weapon in your car, if you're gonna have a sidearm or a pew pew, like they say, on some platforms, if you're gonna have that in your vehicle, at least make sure that it has a lock cable on it. Make sure that you have your serial number so that when it gets stolen, you'll be able to report the serial number as well as the make and model of that particular weapon. You also, want to make sure that you take it out of your vehicle, which is also safe when you're parked for an extended period of time. Here in the state of Texas, if y'all don't realize, um, they cannot restrict you from bringing your weapon, your sidearm, your piece, or whatever you want to call it, especially if it's registered. They cannot restrict you from bringing that into a restaurant. You cannot do it and drink though. You can't do that and think you're gonna order you some shots. That's not gonna happen. They're not gonna sell you them shots. They give you some dry coke. But even we hear that also as as one of the things that goes on in the community, how they get access to weapons and how they come up on a gun that's not registered to them. And once the person reports the gun, or if the person don't report the gun lost or stolen, and the ballistics come back, that individual is in trouble, Miss K.
Yeah,
As an adult, that individual is in trouble. So you know it behooves us to raise our kids like we were raised, and then better give them the access that we had, plus the discipline that we had, and more and greater, right?
exactly. I remember a time whenever you brought somebody home, the parents of that household would always say to that new person walking in, "Who your people?" Your people had a name or a reputation already in the community, right? That don't even happen anymore.
Yeah. Well, I will say welcome, Perry.
Good evening. Good evening. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You gonna Miss Cat, serve Perry some of your potluck, man.
So, what we're talking about, Perry, are these wayward children. How did we get here? And so I started out by saying you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. So you must bend that sapling while it's young.
Most definitely.
Right. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason that these children are acting the way that they're acting. You know, when these children come here, they're children of promise, right? In most European countries or countries outside the United States, you know, whenever babies are born, they're coddled close to the parent. You know, they're wrapped up tight, and you know, the discipline starts from the womb, right?
Yeah.
But here we just kind of just we just let them go and figure things out already long before they really need to.
Um, I agree, and in fact, it's if we were really to pull at that, one would say that a lack of discipline is also a sign of a lack of love because what you love takes takes discipline and care.
And care. That's right.
And
And for that
so
to happen, you have to put the work in.
right. And so kids come here with nothing but anticipation and expectation only now to be encountered by adults who may be disillusioned about their history or
Mm.
who they are. Uh,
Or trying to be the kid's
adults,
friend.
adults who have not come to grips with their current agency and stuff in life.
Mm. They don't
Uh,
realize they adults, is what you saying?
Not only do they not realize that they're adults, they don't realize uh the responsibility that came with saying I'm grown now.
Oh, oh, they didn't know the consequences and repercussions of adulting. I
Right.
got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I mean, um, single parents have been common, in our community as long as I've known. Uh, what we now deal with are mothers who are not prepared, fathers who are not prepared.
Or mothers
Uh,
that are childlike or fathers that are childlike. I'll take that too.
yeah, a community who is oblivious to, well, let me just say, I won't say they're oblivious. They understand the need, but their response time to action is non-existent, or should I say, are distracted. I
Minuscule,
mean,
yeah.
because you do have some parents who want to be there, who are disciplined under the best conditions possible, but because of economics, because of where life, their station in life, they're not always there. And so we can't group their inability, because they're making decisions. How do I feed my child, keep a roof over our head versus not being at the school? Well, the school gonna lose every time, no matter how much I say I want him to get a good education.
Well, I mean, like it, it goes back to, it goes back to what we said at the show a few episodes ago. And then the last week's episode. When we talked about when we had Jaja on the show, and then the episode when we talked about the churches, if y'all remember that. That brings us all back into the same space of that of this potluck that Miss Caddis, Dr. Campbell is sharing, right? And so, like for me, um, I can't I can't expect a child or anybody to know that watermelon tastes good on my experiences alone. Fire cannot be hot only on my experience. And so, understanding that we have individuals who have intuitive minds that want to know for themselves what it's like. I want to experience it. Yes, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my grandmother, grandfather, all of them told me that these are the possibilities of the reactions of if I was to do this. And so I want to see for myself as a child. Again, like y'all said, I don't. Some of the most honest people are children. Will
They
tell you your
are.
breath stinking. They don't mean no harm.
Right.
And so when when we start to reprogram them, I guess to a sense of like our acceptance or what we know as a standard of livability and one that's accepted in our society or in our community, then it's not hard to have access to those um instructions. you know um I do believe Dr. Campbell let it be known on the last show that there is an instruction manual for raising kids and raising adults. It's called the BIBLE.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth. Welcome, Dustin.
Oh, everybody on the table today, everybody at the table. Oh, they must have had to put their food together. That's what it was, Miss Cat. They didn't want to serve no undercooked food. I ain't mad at you, and I'm glad y'all went heated up. I'm glad because I don't like cold food unless it's made to be cold.
So I'm going to add another layer on,
Okay,
in that sometimes, whenever we were being disciplined, period, I know you remember this well. You're down the street, and sister so and so got on you before you got to the house. She had already called your mother and told your mother as well. Nowadays, the parents don't want anybody to tell their kids anything.
why is that though?
It takes a village to raise a child. You can't
That's
be
what
everywhere.
that's the cliche saying that they say, but they don't follow that rule.
But
We
it's
already
very
discussed
real
that
and
in
it
the
does
show.
work.
It does, but nobody wants to be part of a village. Nobody, like you just said, nobody wants to them to tell their child anything but why. There
Mm.
has to be a reason why we have become so dissociated from this village mindset. If people want the village people to, be, uh, to raise a child.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ms. Cat, to your point, that did happen twice in my life. And in both cases, they didn't call. They waited until they were in my presence and told my mother.
Snitch.
And I
Yeah, I
mean,
saw him last week doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was more effective
Right,
because now you can't lie about it. You can't say, no, I didn't
right,
do it. Because now you calling that
right,
adult a lie in their face,
in their
right.
which
face.
was disrespectful.
And they would
So,
have
Very
Yeah,
got
so.
disrespected because you don't bring them nothing from last week. You should have brought yourself down here last week. Don't try to give me a punishment from a week ago.
Yeah.
Give me this fresh butt
Yeah.
cheeks.
Cause I'ma definitely say it. I'ma say it. Miss Luann, you should have came told my mama that last week. You said you was gonna come tell her. You didn't tell her. I always stay
No,
getting busted in the mouth.
they didn't
That's
even
probably why
no,
my
they didn't
lips look
even
like
tell
this.
me. I
Lest we
they
digress,
observed
fellas.
me doing something. They observed me. They didn't come chastise me at that moment
Ooh, ooh, that's probably where it's
because
at.
I didn't
Cause
see them. I mean, they
yeah,
saw me in a place and saying, "Hey, no, I saw him." And so when they got around my
saw you in
mother,
person.
they
Ooh,
politely mentioned it, not to get me in trouble, but to say, "Hey,
snitch.
I saw you." And that's what
Dustin
we
said
have to
it.
be responsible for, is that not only do our kids see us, those people who look up to us in some ways in a childlike manner see us as well.
And so
Those that don't.
if our parents don't, or yeah, if our parents of today don't respect authority, how can we ever expect our children to?
Right,
Hmm.
right,
Well, with authority
right,
comes responsibility as well, and that's where the problem lies in. Is too much do as I say, but I see you doing a lot of do.
right,
So which one you want me to listen to? The two words you just said or the paragraphs of actions? So
right.
people, that's why people got to look in the mirror before they try to figure out what these problems is.
Yeah,
It's a lot closer than people think they are.
yeah.
Oh,
And then
I just
and then
said that, Destin. You missed that part because I did say if you
yes,
follow a
she did.
disrespectful child home, you're going to find a
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful parent,
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
out of
Uh,
a wayward child home, you're going to find a wayward parent.
there it
yeah,
I
is.
just said that. Yeah.
we can
yeah.
put it on. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, all I had in there was cool water. Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought he was talking to us. I was about to say, so you had to pour it on you? That's a whipping. That's a whipping right there. You understand? That was no chastisement. That was a whipping.
Oh my God.
Get the
I was
switch and
trying to
wet your
give
old clothes.
instructions and forgot.
I'm telling you, man. You must have went get a small switch think they was playing, huh?
They made him
I
go
said,
back
go
and get
get
that
me a
peach tree switch that
switch.
wrapped around his leg.
Man, with the little thorns on it.
Mm.
Them little knots on there. Man, I promise. Yeah. So Dr. Campbell, you closing your pot?
I'm closing my pot.
All right, all right. Um, Perry, what you serving at this potluck?
Um, what I want to talk about is this election that's coming up, these midterm elections that are coming up,
Okay.
um, and where we are. Um, I think everyone should be with who has been following any of uh these events should be worried. Uh, not about um executive orders that are going to be contested and um whether or not the remapping of voting districts are going to come to pass and how the electoral college will factor in. All of those things are the givens. What's the unknown is our capacity to right this ship. And while there's definite and rightfully so concern, I think in Republican circles, uh, we can't be we can't continue to have business as usual
mm,
in how we are approaching our elections. And when I make that a blanket statement, I'm not calling out one group, but I will say that there is something common among the politicos, among the voting advocates, among community leaders in what it's going to take to overcome this elect to see the victory that we want and to approach it with some clarity.
mm,
Democrats are kind of believing hype, and community leaders are all doing what they do best, and that is create rallies. But rallies are moments, they are not movements. You can get a mass to a moment in time, but only a few are going to stick it through.
mm,
And there's this misconception that we as black folk can't organize and mobilize, when history shows that that is not true. I mean, among the biggest organized protests in Washington was in what, 63, and then the Million Man March. But we expend our organization energies on small scale and what I call just good times. We will spend more money to do boots and denim and any Republican fundraising. We will get people there to the moment, but we have yet to get people involved in what it's going to take. And what it's going to take in this election is our own assurance about our voting and who's able to vote.
mm, mm,
Because we don't, some of us are just assuming that all is going to be correct and we'll be able to vote, when we have seen just recently in this last primary election people who were mystified and stupefied, and when they called other folk who they thought knew something could get them through, they found out those folk only knew what they knew, which was not much to get them through.
mm,
So I say all that to say, I was in a meeting this morning, and the guy made this analogy about when we drive and how we can all, we have our windshield in front of us, the rear view mirror behind us to see forward, to see what's behind us, even our side mirrors to see things that may be approaching. But most of us get in trouble because we have dead spots. And it's the dead spots that can cause some of the most tragic, events in our life. But to understand dead spots, he says there's 3 ways we can understand, what it now means to look for and understand and identify dead spots. And that is by what we're taught. Somebody who has experienced that shares that with you, and now you're aware of of that dead spot. Or you learn it, i.e., you read it, you gain the knowledge from it, or you learn it through experience. And experience is one of the hardest things, and we keep looking at elections, and our kids are asking us, tell me your experience, and that's where we're dropping the ball, because we don't know our experience but show up to vote. And show up to vote is not going to get us there, but how we can get there is telling the right people to show up. We keep shouting show up to everyone. Voting is a numbers game, and if we can identify our numbers, we can secure victory.
every time.
But we don't know our numbers. All we do is to call mass rallies, have gumbos, barbecues, and everything to get people to come out, feed their belly. But there's no movement after that. So my hope is, and what I want to begin with, and what I have started with, is just sharing this information with groups, with individuals who have some stake in the game. To say, here's some information, something that you can act on. Let's get busy. Let's let's not do the usual.
Anybody gonna eat some of that?
To add to what you're saying, I do believe that more often than not, with when people show up to vote, they're not actually certain of who or what they're voting for. Most of the time, people are not certain of what an office even has has the capability of doing for them. My my number one thing all the time is saying that we need to know exactly what these offices do for us in our household on a day-to-day basis. And once we understand that, then we can understand who is best suited for the job, or we can at least look at a person's history, find out who they are to see if they're better qualified for that position. Uh, but more often than not, we're just like throwing names around in a hat and picking one instead of actually knowing what the office does for us on a personal or on a day-to-day basis in our own household or on our property or whatever the case may be. Because the justice of the peace does a whole lot more than marry people and pronounce people dead. You know, so I mean, we need to know what they do.
I agree. Um, so how shall the strong bear these infirmaries of the weak?
Mm.
Um, yeah, education is always that's the long term.
And
But
that's exactly what you want is a
we
long
also
term
have to
effect.
realize that we have short term and midterm goals that we have to reach as well. And so how do we in short term, because I think education uh is also tied to uplift. So I'm educating, but I also need to see some uplift that help reaffirms this education along the way. That's required for some, it's not for all. And so, as Dustin was saying, there is no specific playbook for education. True educators find a way to meet the child or meet the student and the curriculum at a point. The educator has to also be willing to understand it's okay to educate outside the curriculum, to bring it
Yeah,
back in, i.e., I've seen we see it all the time in those coaches who are able to take game experience and apply it to life in a young boy, as a young boy is going through crisis. Effective coaches. Um, and I think
I,
again, it goes back to that whole village. If we're going to say it takes a village, then the village needs to understand what a village does.
I think y'all both hitting on something, but there's a miss, right? For me, um, and this is just for me sampling this plate. Yes, I need an educated electorate. That's a given, right? A knowledgeable electorate, one that knows, uh, like I said, what these positions do, um, as well as who these particular candidates are. But beyond that, from the ground, even from even in those two spaces that's identified, an overall plan has to be developed. And even once you educate the people, we still end up coming up missing or missing certain spaces because the plan, the initial plan that we're giving not only to educate our community, but the current elected and the groomed, the electable that we are grooming within our engagement, right? Understands the plan. And this plan is not just a Republican access plan. This is not a Democrat access plan. This is not an independent access plan. This is not a plan that targets our industries or our infrastructure or our crime. This isn't a plan. This is something that gives us all access to what our liberties really are. And again, in a plan, especially one that's passed down, just like that education we talking about, just like those election markers that we must hit, just like that's passed down from election to election. So should that plan be passed down from generation to generation so that when we see it as it was produced by somebody from the 40s or the 30s, when we see it as 80s and 90s babies, we can at least say, Papa, this don't work, or this don't work. I'm looking at not just the age gap. I'm looking at it's not even pulling out your age group either. So this isn't working. And most individuals within our community don't want to hear that the baby that they held this whole time is dead.
I hear you. I hear you. But y'all touched on a few things that bothered me from the get go. Cause being the youngest here, I'm probably the closest to my school days, even though that's 20 plus years away. But at no point was I taught how to vote.
And that's sad because I'm not that far from you, and I was.
See the thing, I learned about the branches of government, all that, but my mind pings certain things like, okay, cool, you teaching me this, but why are you not teaching me other things? Like, I was never taught what a mayor is or what they do.
Wow.
I was never taught about aldermen, city council members. Uh, it's like the branch of government started at governor. Nobody underneath was taught in
You just
school.
missed the lesson.
No, no. I had perfect attendance in high school because that's where the latest was.
Then that's how you missed the lesson. You were distracted.
No, but I'm saying, like, because I had Dr. Scholl for that class. And anybody that had Dr. Scholl, they know he don't miss nothing.
That's why I'm shocked because I came out 99. You came out what? 2002?
2002.
So the curriculum changed that far? That I mean, like, I know you not fit to sit up here and tell me, well, let's Dustin, even when I was at Crockett, just Crockett, we did mock elections at Crockett with the Chad. We still had the Chad then.
We didn't talk. Because my mind, I can remember a lot of things about
Wow.
school. I don't remember learning anything about elections really until high school. But
Wow.
Well, but
But
I
again,
want I
I
want to
can
ask
see
you this,
that.
Dustin. I want to ask you this. Since you come out of high school
mm-hmm.
and since you've been voting and on propositions, do you go back and find out what the history is behind why they're trying to change from one thing to another?
Oh, I do that regardless. Cause I'm a person that everybody on the ballot fit to get Googled and researched by me. And that's why I be highly disappointed when I show up and those people ain't even on my ballot. Cause I research everybody. I don't care if you're Democrat, I
So
don't
so
care if
so,
you're
so you
Republican.
don't find out who's on your ballot first? You don't
No,
know your
I
Senate
think
district?
what he's saying is that when he participated in a primary, he don't see the people that because it's a particular, of course,
See,
Republican or
cause I
Democratic
don't I
primary.
don't do the gang affiliations. So I don't look for a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. I look for everyone who's running. And I research it all.
So
So then you should know on either ballot that you go up and choose.
Oh, I know. Once I get there, they be like, "Oh, well, you got to pick a side." I don't want to.
Then vote
yeah,
in
You can't.
just vote in the general. You can
yeah,
still
just
vote in the
vote in the
general. You don't have
general.
to vote in
But
the
then again, like he said, by the time I get to the general election, the person that I wanted to vote for in the primary ain't there.
because you should have went to put them
But
on the ballot,
See,
but
but
that's
that's the
but you
thing.
also
chose
brings
not
up
to.
no.
As an
Well, hold on.
independent, I don't get to be a voter. I got to
Okay,
pick one.
Right.
Texas is a two step state. You
They
have
could
to get them on the ballot
say all they
first,
want.
and then in the
Which
general, that's when you're going to actually make your selection.
But see, even in that,
which brings me back to: do we understand that the United States and Canada are the only two countries in which there are party elections? But even more importantly, if we are going to talk about getting our voices and liberty back, we must understand that the voting process that we use is always gained toward a small majority.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that has yet to be talked about among a lot of our elected officials, I don't even know if many are aware, is we can change the voting process. There's a thing such as a thing called ranked choice voting. And if you don't know what ranked choice voting is, it says, "Hey, I'm the voter. I have my number one candidate, but I also have some allegiances toward this other candidate. So I get multiple selections." And the way ranked choice goes, that if in the first round no candidate gets the majority, then those at the bottom get knocked off, which means now if I voted for someone and they got knocked off, my number two vote becomes now my top choice.
but
And
see,
they
even in
continue
that,
to do
y'all,
that until they get a majority. But therein lies the will of the people, because I'm not forced to one choice. I'm giving multiple choices.
yes, even in that though, we do just like Dustin said. The person I want to vote for ain't on my ballot. And one of the reasons there is a great disconnect because even like Dr. Campbell said, education that has to be a very important part. No, you cannot go up to nobody and tell them, "Hey, this is a write-in candidate," and they know what you mean when you say this is a write-in candidate, or even the process of how to go about having a write-in candidate. Because I don't see the person that I want on the ballot means I can't vote for them. No, that's not necessarily the case.
And you
Because
got to watch how
Snoopy,
you move around even talking about it because you look it up. They'd have made it so illegal. You can't have it's like can't have a conversation at the polls because they keep talking about people ain't showing up. But if you organize a bus ride to the polls, that's illegal.
You,
It's illegal when
one
you
person
promote
can
a
bring up to
particular
7 people.
candidate. It's
Hell,
illegal when you
ever
bring up a
seven.
particular
How about
candidate.
70?
Yeah, you can do a bus, but you cannot promote a particular candidate.
But then that goes back into now voting for the right representatives who will take up those initiatives, which again goes back to not just having an educated electorate, but an educated elected,
Hmm.
and so, when we have folk, whether it be city council, the county, or the state, I mean, where do they stand on all of these initiatives that has passed? It
Hmm.
is not those are not rules that are etched in stone.
Right.
Those rules changed other rules that were in place. So where is the effort to say, hold on, wait a minute, let's go back and change the rules and see? And that's just it. When we have electeds that come in, they're taught the rules and procedures, but whether they get education about the rules
Hmm.
and the engagement, we see Republicans use it all the time. And we've seen Democrats use it to some effect, but I'm saying our electeds, black, white, brown, indifferent, who say they represent the people, where is their focus on those issues to give the rights back?
Hmm. You
How
putting your top
you
on
know
your
as soon as
pot?
they get
Oh, my
elected?
bad.
That's what it is. That window right there, they raised it up, threw them out, closed it, and went on about their elected abilities. 'Cause
Man,
it sounds real good running for office. I'm gonna do for the people. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And then you get in office, and I don't know what happened to the people.
again, especially if I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, it's not in writing. We miss every time. We miss every time. Black, white, and or other as a candidate in our face. This is what I need. This is what my community need. This is a consensus and a litmus of what my community requests and require for us as a block, BLOC, to vote for you and or anyone, any other candidate. I bring a block. This is the writ that you have to agree to in order to get this block. If you don't get this block, if you get our vote and you come in the office and don't do what this list say, come sit down because I got you under contract. That's where they don't want black political power to move no more because it was once there, especially after Reconstruction. It was there during the civil rights movement. But the dissemination of it or the destruction of it, almost to a point to where we're at the brinks of eradication of political power in the black community. And some people say, no, we just voted 90 something thousand people for Kamala Harris. And here in the state of Texas, after Jasmine Crockett just lost, you know how many people say they're not voting? Again, there's a process called a write-in candidate. Y'all stop playing in your own face. You putting your pot on your top pair.
Ah, yeah.
Man, Dustin, serve the people, man. What you serving today? What's in that pot, man?
It's a something that it's a two-part thing that triggered me over the thing because my kids do a bunch of agricultural things, livestock, animals, and whatnot. So one part of it, we sitting there while my daughter doing the pig show. We basically, walk the pig around the ring, make sure that it obeys you, whatnot. And so my middle one, middle school age, looks over and say, "Dad," I'm like, "What's up?" It's not many of us here. And I understood what she meant immediately.
Absolutely.
I was like, well, it be like that sometimes. And then the second part, that's why I was late. I was feeding the pig. And I'm sitting there feeding pig, and somebody walked by because they open it up to the fowl after so long. So now random people walking by, and they were reading the sign next to the pen that say Beaumont FFA. They're like, huh? I didn't know Beaumont had an FFA charter. So that brought me to another thing. While I was sitting there, you hear them call out schools and call out school districts, and I'm just sitting there like, we're in Beaumont. And you rarely hear BISD being called. And not only do you rarely hear it, then you dig deep into it and you realize, okay, both high schools have FFA programs, even though one high school don't even have a agriculture teacher currently, but that's another subject. And then you venture more, you're like, okay, so what's the feeder system to the high schools? Only 2 of the middle schools in BISD have an agricultural program. And those teachers are also the high school teachers. They just leave the high school at certain periods and then go teach at the middle school. So
Yep.
you take that and you look around. We
Yep,
are
Dr.
in
Campbell.
Texas. We are
You know
Texas.
what? I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking to myself, you FFA was very prominent when I was in school, and there were a lot of us in it. You
Now
know, at
it,
South Park.
it's like you don't get to hear about it unless you go to Vincent or Marshall. You won't hear
Wow,
about it in middle school.
wow.
That's it. And a
So
lot
it's
of
not
parents,
it's not at Odom with the Pegasus program, you would assume?
nope. It's only
Oh,
at those
wow.
2 middle schools. And on
Oh
top of that, a
wow.
lot of parents don't know that you can actually sign your kid up in elementary. There'll just be a junior FFA person, but ain't no
Right.
way you would know that unless you're currently in FFA.
Right.
The counselors don't talk about it.
Hold on, y'all.
No.
We, I mean, we. I don't mean to sound incredulous, but we got a school district that's been taken over by the state
Twice.
twice.
That's just to
We
indoctrinate
won't
our children,
we
though.
won't we
I
won't
mean,
even we won't even come to grips about how our fingerprints and our misdeeds led to this. We won't come clean. And
Mm,
the
mm.
first any
They
one
hate.
group, as my daddy said, you can't fix now damn thing that you don't face.
Wow.
And so we keep wanting things to get fixed while we
Wow.
keep giving some deference to bad behavior, dismissive attitude toward ineffective leaders,
No, they terrible.
because we continue to think, oh well, it's just gonna last. Well, how in the hell is it gonna last if we keep seeing destruct after defect after defunct after every
I
defecation that has happened upon our people, and then we keep looking for, as I said last week, we keep looking for this BS that's not coming from good nutrients to produce good plants. Horse manure, cow manure is preferred over dog and cat manure because of what they eat
that's right.
and the nutrients in it.
yeah.
So why are we giving our kids
Dog poop.
BS, dog poop, and calling it BS, because that's what it is.
Yeah, Dr.
And that's
Campbell,
what I'm
my
saying. We
face,
talking riddles around this thing.
my face is just the same. And Perry, you're absolutely correct. during the first rift, the first time that the state took over this district in my lifetime. I don't know how many times before, but um, that's one of the things that was defunded throughout the district. Uh,
But apparently not all
those
the way. Because Dustin said you can
no,
sign your kid up in elementary school. Is that what you
right,
just said?
right. You can, but if your child is not within the district to go to Marshall, they're not gonna get that. They gon' they gon'
No.
they're gonna engage in FAA later. I mean FHA
FFA,
later,
FFA, yeah, future
and
form.
then you have as well as um, FFA ag extension. You remember the ag extension at Central where we were growing fish, we was learning about hydroponics, we was learning all kinds of access to those types of ways of life or living. But again, that only came once we got to Central Senior High School. When you was in the ninth grade, you were not able to take ag. You only got that once you got to the main campus. So just like he said, um, you probably could if your elementary had a chapter that was sponsored outside of the district or outside of that partnership.
Wow.
Same go for Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, and all that other stuff. You don't find access to that in black schools no more. So even when it came to FFA, DECA, and um,
Shop.
what's the other one? 4-H,
Mm-hmm.
because 4-H used to be in our schools too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Dustin said shop. Let's go
Auto
even a little
mechanic.
further. Auto mechanics plus drafting and engineering.
I don't even think they do home ec anymore. Where you learn to sew your holes in your socks.
Shoot,
Nope, not in the
the
middle
auto
school.
mechanic and body shop was at Hebert back in the day. South Park students came over, and Forest Park students came over to Hebert
One of the main
for
things that
body
was
shop.
said tonight, one of the main things that was said tonight, is that Dustin, we, and them other two over there. Ooh, I almost said it. I almost said it, Queen. I saw your face. We messed over our future by allowing curricula and curriculum to be removed from our at least our standard in here in Beaumont, Texas. Make it make sense how we have no plumbing internship. We have no electrical internship. We have no, I mean, like engineering internships when you're in high school or when you're in middle school, or at least some junior exposure classes so that whenever you at least get in middle school, you at least have an idea of the track and direction that I want to go in because I have access to these courses, these skills, these
Right.
internships.
Right. But Chris, let me also put that into perspective because as I've learned, I see my parents when I came to know my parents, they had a whole nother story before we became acquainted. And in some ways, I'm still finding out their stories after they've departed, which you as kids we will find out.
Correct.
But I think one of the things, and we've talked about this before, about what desegregation was meant for,
You humming?
and what desegregation and what
She in
the
the whole
and
spiritual.
she didn't went. I was looking for the usher in the white dress, man.
The nun.
But I don't think we have carefully we begin to talk about it like slightly in terms of what desegregation did to our schools. Uh,
No, I was waiting.
and
I was
and and
waiting.
and
I
and
was
and
waiting for that.
and, and to some extent, we won't address the shift in attitude, especially when affirmative action came and we got access to professional jobs.
So I was a part of the ping pong ball desegregation. Okay.
Yeah,
And at my school, South Park, I went to Peach MacArthur and South Park, and we were able to take a part in all of those things that were listed above.
right. But let me also say this: that was phase one, desegregation.
Okay.
About this incremental, really 82 Reagan desegregation, because by 82, cat, me and you was coming out of school.
Right.
So
Yeah,
and
what you
at the
going?
same time, we became among that
I
really
was
first generation that grew into the professional corporate ranks. And I guarantee you, if you ask most of the kids of my generation, their parents wasn't teaching farming, they wasn't promoting plumbing. If they promoting anything electrical, it was electrical engineering and not electrician. So again, I'm just saying on the masses, because when you look at the numbers in our generation who are in that corporate life versus the few that are in that labor life, and I mean we can throw a whole bunch into the refinery that we never talked about because we saw our numbers dissipate from the 70s. Going into the 90s, the refineries wasn't picking us no more in Jefferson County. They was going out and bringing in. I know people today who live in Pearland have to drive to Baytown, and Valero brings a bus and ships them in every day.
wow.
And we talking about we just seen the carpet doors begin to close, and we not prepared for the late. And anytime
Dustin, that-
we having plumbing problems, it's the city. We don't even have a network of good plumbers.
hmm. Dustin, the last the last pot that we open and this pot that we open gives validity to what Perry is talking about,
Mm-hmm.
because I know you graduated not long after I did,
Mm-hmm.
and I had access to some of those very same learnings, right?
Yep.
And the move of desegregation, like Perry said, is an ongoing thing. And I'm looking at how I had access to drafting and engineering while I was in high school, and students look at me now and say, "What, you was going to Lamar while you was in high school?" Which was an option during our time.
Yep.
And I was like, "No, this was a elective on campus,
Mm-hmm.
not at the career center. This was an elective on campus. This was taught on campus, drafting and engineering.
Yeah.
You had to go buy all your materials because the school supply list for that class was completely different from all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I signed up for that class for about a week, and then my schedule got shifted. It is what it is, you know. Band was more
I
important.
enjoyed that class. And I was probably about to say, "What you switched for band?"
Yeah, the Miss Anderson, she good lady, but she always had my schedule messed up all 4 years.
Miss Anderson said, "I'm gonna put you in what I think is best for you."
I'm telling you, that's why I ended up with two sciences my senior year.
NJROTC and what else?
It, but my thing was because I remember in middle school, our shop class, unknowingly to themselves, they actually built the shop teacher a house.
Hmm.
And by the time I got to high school, I was like, man, shop probably would be cool. It was gone.
It was gone. It was gone. Especially by the time you got to the ninth grade campus, because um, ROTC had moved into the shop
Yeah.
in the space where the shop
Because
was.
my first year at Central, there was no more ninth grade campus. We went straight to the big campus. We was
Right.
the first class to come straight over. So much was gone.
Everything was gone.
Yeah, that's something because I got introduced to shop at Odom. I didn't see shop anymore after when I got in high school. I saw
That's
I got
crazy.
introduced to it in Odom. I
That's
never
crazy
that
because
I didn't
Beaumont High
see any
School
I
had it.
didn't see
I
any
mean, Beaumont
electric.
Central High School had it.
We don't exist no
Yeah.
more, but
Yeah. I mean, and once again, for me, I'm not gonna lie. As much as I paid attention to what was going on, for me, I knew that the operating monies for Central Senior High School was split in half to create an Ozan High School. And once Ozan was created, the funds for operating Central Senior High School was never restored. And
oh yeah,
neither was
they
the
didn't fix
funds.
anything.
Correct. And that's like I'm telling y'all there's something that's coming for Beaumont High and Central Senior High, Beaumont Central, Beaumont Charlton Pilot High School students. We got something coming for y'all. It's in the making.
My only
Uh
issue with if you gonna close Central, why are you trying to now weasel all of our history over to BU? They got their own history.
no, they don't. They just got started.
Nah. Cause technically that's Ozan.
No, that's not.
Kansas.
According to law, they can't use Ozan and they can't use Abel. You
Mm.
changed the name. When that
And,
family gave you access to that campus, you were supposed to keep that name. That's a family property plus family campus. You were supposed to keep that name, you didn't. So
and we're not
who
going to
you
even
lost it.
discuss, Chris. We're not going to even discuss that. No one seems to know where any of the trophies, awards, or all of the accommodations from Hebrew. No one seems to know where any of that information resides.
Oh, I know
Mm.
where all of them was for Central.
Uniforms, all of that. No one, there is no record of where it was stored or if it even exists to this day.
I got a good
Well,
guess
I
of where
could.
it's at. What
Hmm.
they used to call it, CDS. There's a school right behind it that they use for storage. I could bet $1 it's in there.
Oh, they tore that down.
Well, they tore it down with it, just like they did with Central trophies, because people went through the school right before they tore it down. All of our trophies was in the main building that they was about to tear
David
down.
Crockett Middle School, David Crockett Middle School, Bowie Middle School, Really Ray Smith, the original Really Ray Smith, not this attachment that they got. Dick Dowling. Yeah, all that was one time price. All of their UIL trophies, all of that at one time was alleged to be in storage. But
Yeah.
once you remove that name from your role, your roster, your insurance, your policy, you could throw all that in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. Dustin, you putting your pot top on your pot?
I
I
want to
am,
ask this
but
question before he does.
mm-hmm.
What are they doing with that school over on 7th Street where they were doing all of the trades? They're not doing auto mechanics over there or anything, or print shop or cosmetology. They're not doing
Talking
none
about
of
the
that technology.
curriculum.
You talk about the career center? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they still got
Yeah.
cosmetology. I think they doing a little plumbing, so a little electrician work.
Auto, they
And
still
and
do
so
auto
all the schools have
mechanics,
access to that.
allegedly.
Here's the thing. I'm put it. I had talked to a counselor. Here's the thing. If your child don't like take summer classes to get rid of a lot of their needed class,
Required subjects.
yeah, their required subjects, they won't be able to because their schedule won't line up.
Oh,
Because to go to the career center or even the ag farm, you basically take up 2 classes. So you got to knock something out, or you're gonna either lose a extracurricular
like in
or
summer
something like
school.
that.
You got to knock it out in
Hmm.
summer school or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they offer classes during the summer, but they don't know what they're gonna be until like the summer come. Trust me, I've been down this path. I've asked these questions. You get a headache.
Wow.
Because my daughter is, because once you get to like 11th, 12th grade, you start going to the actual ag form for class. But since she also takes ASL, it's a schedule conflict. So it's like they're gonna try to make her choose.
Mm.
And which I think is bull. So we're gonna have to find some class that she can get wipe out the way so she'll have an empty block.
Do they have night classes still in that building as well?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
I think last time
When
I heard
when
night class, I was in school.
Well, no, they had
uh
night classes since then. They
Mr.
did.
When Mr. When Mr. Kibbles left the district, so did that grant money.
Mm.
Because he was writing the grants for the night school. It was never part of BISD Foundation or BISD curricula. It was
But that
always a grant that was written
but that brings me to
by
another thing.
Mr.
How
by
hard is
Mr.
to find a
Athlon
grant
and
writer?
Mr. What you call him? Huh?
How hard is it to find a god doggone grant writer?
It's not. It's how hard is it you gonna pay me for my money? How much is you planning to pay me for this writing, this researching?
Right.
How much is you willing to pay? And BISD is not willing to pay it.
Right. And not willing to collaborate in a way to even to allow it. I mean, you have some school districts who are looking at collaborative opportunities that will allow education in some non-traditional by their standards classroom, and so but it's only going to be as creative as its leaders are.
Yeah.
And once the state comes in, we know the state's whole mission and focus is on management and
Indoctrination of our children.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what you said. That's what
yeah,
you said. And I'm glad you said it again.
yeah, yeah.
Dustin, go ahead and put your top on your pot, man.
See, but
I
with that
liked it. It tastes
indoctrination,
good.
that's why I teach my kids that hey, you do what you have to do in school so you can do what you want to do. Because they only gonna do half of what needs to be taught to you. So just go ahead, knock that out. I'm gonna teach you the rest because I know half the crap they teaching is bull. The
Mm.
reason I do know because I know half of them pages in them textbooks are now missing. Because how you go
Wow.
from page 12 to page 36, I don't know.
Wow.
Right. And here's an even more startling number for you. Uh, with the electrician programs at BISD at LIT, no one can really explain the low number of minority electricians in the union.
I can.
And see,
I can kind of elude too.
and the only way you can get into the union, of course, is by having a collaboration, of course, with the businesses to get apprentices. But then we don't have that collaboration. I just happen to know for a fact that it was a minority program out of Port Arthur last year that introduced 20 certified black electricians in the Golden Triangle, the most for the last, 15 years? And so when we begin to talk about these alliances, like getting with the electricians union, Even
And
there,
then
we
when you do, it's still gonna be
even
offered
there
at
we got
only
to be in
Marshall.
part.
No, no, no. If you're going to go into a partnership like that, there needs to be an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. You are not coming to teach just at Marshall. You are not coming to teach just at Vincent.
Or older.
Those are the things that I heard on tonight. You can have as many partnerships as you want. But if I don't offer it to your nigga campus or your nigga community, you niggas ain't gonna get it. Did
Right.
you not hear what I said? And that's what I heard.
And they can say it politely and it
And they're
still
not gonna
be the
tell
same
you
way.
that they absolutely not gonna tell you because you are the populace of this city now. Dustin, put your pot on your put your top on, man, before I keep eating. Cause I told y'all I'm aggressive about somebody's child, even if it ain't even mine.
I'm put,
You're not gonna mess me over in my future.
I'm gonna put it like this for y'all who don't know. If you want agriculture, FFA ain't just about animals. It's about
It's not.
it's about plants and all kinds of things. It's the science of animals, plants, and all that. And they do go over that as well. They do floral arrangements and all that jazz. So you can reach out. They have a Facebook page. If you would like your child to
Hmm.
be in it, go and reach out to them. They have no problems having as many middle schoolers from whatever campus you from, because most of the people in it either had a brother or sister that's in high school, and so they came to the meeting with them. Because me, all my kids are members of FFA. My high school, my middle school, and my elementary. You fall under the junior FFA until you hit seventh grade. But go ahead and get them signed
Hmm.
up. Because what people don't realize, while y'all looking at the foul, looking at all them lights, smelling all the food going around, there's a big money game being played in them in them stalls behind y'all. Cause these kids are walking
Facts.
away with serious cash.
Facts.
And they coming from far and
Absolutely.
wide to do so.
Absolutely.
They got some kids got animals here. They can't even afford to come back daily to feed that animal. So they
Hmm.
paying someone else to do it. But I bet they'll be here
Man,
Thursday when that auction rolls through.
I was about to say, man, when that auction go through, they gonna definitely, because all they've been doing right now is parading and judging, right?
Oh yeah. It's been parade of different animals and whatnot. And but Thursday, that's what paychecks get cut.
Hmm. All right, now let me shift the room right fast. I got a few minutes, and I just want to tease y'all palate right fast, if I could. Um, of course, I know this one is not trending as most of the topics that you all have brought on this evening. It's not loud, but it's been sitting on my mind, especially being that I engage in some of these spaces with acquaintances, and it's very interesting, right? Um, we can walk through cemeteries right now, right, and see clear markers, especially um, in the recently acknowledged or um, recognized historic black burial spaces here in the city of Beaumont, and two of them currently is the Blanchette Cemetery and the Pear Orchard Cemetery. And so, um, we see headstones of individuals born in the 1800s who died in the 1900s. Names, dates, families, you go in the cemetery and you see it all, right? But let me ask y'all something. This is a question that I'm starting to really impose because um I'm not seeing much of it, right? Where are the people before that? Every grave I look at is somebody that was born in the 1800s, died in the 1900s. But what happened to the people that were born in the 1800s and died in the 1800s?
Dig deeper.
What? I'm glad you said that. What happened to the people that was born in the 1700s and died in the 1800s? Where's their cemetery? Where's their resting spaces? Where are the burials from the 1700s?
Further
Where
down.
are the graves of the people who worked, this land, built on this land, mitigated through this land, migrated through this land, died on this land before record keeping got consistent, if we can say that, consistent according to the colonized nations that we live in.
I believe they call
Um,
them unmarked graves.
that's what we were led to believe, that they were all unmarked graves. But let me stop playing like they didn't. Let's stop playing like they didn't exist. They were here. They lived. They died. So where are they? And you can't tell me that the burial spaces were the ones there that we acknowledge now, that their loved ones are under there too. Because guess what, y'all? You cannot unearth a deceased person, especially if it's identified as a cemetery. So I'm not jumping to conclusions. I'm just asking real questions, because when something that should be visible, marked or unmarked, even if it's a field stone, um, it isn't. That don't mean panic, y'all. That means pay attention. Because if they erase those individuals from the 1700s and the 1800s, the 1900s ain't far behind. We know some burials were unmarked. Yes. We know some were wood markers that didn't last. We're aware. We know some were on land that got developed over. And we know that some belong to people who weren't recorded properly at all.
Same
But
as the
even with
churches,
all
huh?
that, correct. Even with all that, we have graveyards that were tied to cemetery, tied to several black churches. Where are those graveyards? Where are those church cemeteries? We have individuals who's living in residential spaces who at one time were not allowed to bury their loved ones in cemeteries. So, are they on our properties? And so all that leads to a bigger question. Not just where are the graves, but what parts of history were never fully recorded, or those records were intentionally destroyed. We got erased physically, we got ignored structurally, and more importantly, what we are standing on right now that we don't even know the history of. I mean, I live in Beaumont. Of course, we know in 1901 ExxonMobil popped up, or what is now known as ExxonMobil popped up. But what about the people that were here before that industry popped up? We know that a port is adjacent to a very large portion of what was marked and identified as the North End Black community and the South End Black community. Again, this was long before the race riots of this particular area. We're talking about history. So where are the deceased? I just wanted to know. And have y'all been peeping that out? Because a few, maybe a month or so ago, they did some digging on the side of the animal shelter on Pine Street, and they uncovered some graves there. They uncovered a bunch of graves. I want to say at least in the 30s, 32, 33 graves. Mind y'all, these graves were underneath what was once known as the city dump. I'm done.
I'm gonna do you one better than that. Pine, go to what is that? Pine Park. There's a little white church next to Pine Park. Like there's Pine Park, there's a church, there's Martin, but the opposite direction there's some little woods, and then there's another church. That used to be Mount Gilead. I grew up there. Behind the fence of Mount Gilead, there used to be so many headstones.
There still are.
No, no. Go there now. They're missing. There
Mm.
used to be stacked up rows with like if you look through the trees, there used to be rows and rows and rows. You pass by there now, you can probably count the ones that's still there.
That grave site is still there. That there's a
It's
lady that goes through there.
Oh, it's there for
Uh,
now.
yeah.
no, she brings. I think if I'm not mistaken, she brings the prisoners through there to help for them to clean that up.
Where are the headstones?
You're
Yeah,
absolutely correct, Dr. Campbell. They're still there. That head the cemetery is still there, but the city was caught one night. The city of Beaumont was caught one night destroying those headstones.
Ah,
I told you they was missing. I used to see them stacked up because when you come out the portables of the main church, it's a little hangout
Absolutely.
spot you could kind of sit and so I used
yeah,
to look over the fence and there was like hundreds of them.
Goo gobs. And mind you,
yeah.
Dr. Campbell, this is a Buffalo Soldier cemetery.
right.
You go through there
And and
now.
and and I can live credence to that because my uncle George, Busby's barbecue, was right there next to Pine Street Park and sat right next to Mount Gilead. In fact, my uncle George and Aunt Ida had a pink house that was right next to the parking lot of Mount Gilead. Knew that we used to walk that
I used to
cemetery
walk the guy in that house to
all the
church.
time. Yeah, yeah. In the
I'm
late
glad y'all.
60s, before I left the North End, yeah, we did it all the time because we were always over there at my Uncle George's. And again, it was right next to Pine Street Park, which at the time used to have a lot of baseball. So while you was waiting on the baseball game, you ventured on off back over there behind Mount Gilead. It was a lot going on back there. Yeah, and that grave, I agree with you, Dustin. It was rows and rows.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, it was hundreds. Cause you to sit there and try to count and be like, man, I can't even see all of them. I rode by there the other day because they'd have cleared out most of the trees and everything. I drove by the other day, I was like, something missing.
A lot
Cause
of something's missing.
it's probably from just riding by count, you could probably only see about 10, 15 left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And that's not all, y'all. I mean, like, I'm bringing this up because, again, like I said earlier, there are some unmarked graves, and then there are some cemeteries that have been disgraced completely. There is said to have been a cemetery on the corner of Gladys and Oakland. I know. I know. And in history, I'm gonna pull up my map to make sure that I'm saying these streets correct. Right across the street from Big John's is a church. If you eat at Big John's, you see this church right across the street. There's a historical marker there in the property, on the property. It alludes to a black minister that came into the area, developed this church or developed that space. But get this, y'all, in that space was a cemetery, and they completely disgraced the cemetery, and it was said to have been either natives or Negroes, pick one. And they took their headstones and they threw them in the street and made pavement, or because dirt roads that y'all were mentioning about earlier, um, they use those rocks, those headstones into road pavement. Never have been exhumed. Never had they been exhumed and placed into a real cemetery? That's one. Number two, it says that Noah Tevis is history here at Beaumont, that Noah Tevis was an Anglo. And I did my research of Mr. Tevis, and it does say he is a Negro. But what bothered me, or what had me baffled, was that Mr. Tevis was exhumed, you all, from a Negro graveyard or a Negro cemetery. I have never read in history before where a Anglo, white, or other were buried among a Negro. Even if they were the slave master, they were either built above, uphill, and the Negro were buried below, or they were buried separate, but they were never buried in the same graveyard. So, our cemeteries are telling stories that we definitely do not want to address, some of us at least, because again, there are some shaming stories, especially once we find out that your name or your family or your organization and or your government has been playing a part in the eradication of true Negro history and where we laid our loved ones. Parking lots, parks, plants, ports,
Schools, stadiums,
stadiums,
streets.
lakes. I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And I'm done. I'll let y'all talk about it. And if not, if y'all don't want to talk about it, y'all can be like, put the top on that eerie conversation.
Just on a quick look, there's at least three known in Beaumont, and weirdly, all in the Poucher area, which I thought used to be mostly black.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the according to Sanborn maps, uh, before development, Pearl Orchard was marshland.
Mm, that's what they say.
Before we know North End as it is, it was the thicket. Before we know the South End to be what it is, it was the thicket. And Hillebrand Bayou is called Hillebrand Bayou for purpose because again that was part of the marshland. Port Arthur was also part of the thicket and the marshland. Again, though, these are some of the things that they don't want people to really understand and or identify, because the mound people is the individuals that we are looking for from the 1700s and the 1800s. That's why I brought them up. Where are those individuals? Where are their burial spaces? And why is it that when you move a parking lot or move a plant or build a plant or build a parking lot or build a stadium, you have to stop because now you ran into the remains of ancestors that nobody wanted to mark or identify
Yeah.
or even record.
Yeah. Chris, and I also think that because even in our understanding of our ancestors, I think it's somehow easy to not carefully uh give the framework of their living environment,
Mm,
because we're all city dwellers, and somehow we may think of folk in the country, and even what we think of the country is not really the country, because if you really read our history, and in that book that I sent you, Black Indians, you find out that we really lived in the thicket, in the thick of the
correct.
thicket,
Correct.
that we always found our dwelling place deep within.
By
And
rivers.
so that was to keep deep separation from us and our enemies.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
only began to get, you only began to get some closer proximity as it relates to plantations. But post that, if we understand our history and if we keep, you know, and somehow we keep thinking that we can't, that our only access here came through slave ships, again, our misunderstanding of our history, that Dr. Van Sertima says we were here before Columbus.
Even taught him how to speak English is what I heard. I got the book, man. I'm telling you, I'm reading the book, man.
And so, you know, part of that we have to, you know, it is again, it's that misunderstanding of our true history, because we really only have a way of framing history out of what we've seen. And so that kind of starts from our youth, and you know, and we don't mean any harm, but you know, to see something in the old days, you think it's more theatrics than reality, and the theatrics is not even close to the reality.
Correct. Correct.
This whole thing about the graveyard, it tie into like kid movies that they try to show you to teach you a lesson. Because I don't know if y'all ever seen the movie Coco, but it
Mm-hmm.
showed you
Yeah.
if you don't keep talking about your ancestors, they
Right.
gonna forget about them.
Right.
Because looking it up, that's what usually happens. Families stop visiting, so the graveyard, the people owning it might not take as good as care as they should. So now
Mm-hmm.
everything's starting to decay, everything's starting to break, everything's starting to crumble. And then by the time somebody come around, it don't even look like a graveyard. It
Hmm.
just look like land.
Yeah.
And they treat it as such.
Yeah. I once heard a sociologist say, if you don't know your great great grandparents, there's a 90% chance that your great great grandchildren will not know you.
Mhm.
X.
And that's why I
Greater
tell
than 90.
Reciprocity.
stories all the time.
Yeah.
Reciprocity, huh?
Yeah.
Because me personally, I've never met my great great grandpa. Well, probably added too many greats. My grandma's dad.
Right.
Great.
But I knew there was a picture of him in the living room.
Right.
And so I used to always go there and look at him like, why he like one of the only members of the family that's super dark skinned and don't look happy at all. Every pic I've seen one picture of him where he was smiling. But I can tell you right now the exact location of where his grave was. I say was because
Yeah.
you never know. I ain't been there in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you go to Lucky Seven, I think it's what King's Market or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
On
Behind
Magnolia.
there.
Yeah, his grave is right behind there. I believe it's the second road in, like halfway down. His grave was right by the street. Cause I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
know the man, but I used to go over there and walk over there and talk to him.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
my my sister is there. I used to do the same thing. She on that same row.
Yeah.
On that second row. Uh-huh.
Man. Well, I'm gonna put my pot top on. Y'all done? Y'all finished
Mm-hmm.
eating? All right. But the reason I brought that up is just for the same reason that Dustin said. Um, I engage in this organization called Historic Sacred Spaces, and they have within the last almost 3 years now, got recognized two cemeteries, and working on their third. They have been able to positively exploit all women who served from Southeast Texas. They're in the process of positively exploiting all Tuskegee Airmen that are affiliated here in Southeast Texas, all other infantrymen, including some black Confederate soldiers that are resting in all of what was Jefferson County, now Orange County, and Southeast Texas. And I definitely wanted to talk about this because this conversation has to happen even more. Because if not, these cemeteries will go unrecognized. These stories that lie out there will go untold. And these families who are related will go forever disconnected and not knowing that they are blood relatives. And so, yeah, that's what I brought to the table on this evening. Y'all know I'm my mind is always somewhere weird. So call it what you want. That's my meal for the day. Dustin, I see Dr. Campbell fell off. I was gonna have her to give us something to wrap us up for the week. But um man, I want y'all to know, Dr. Campbell, Perry, Dustin, y'all brought some heat. I really want y'all to know y'all brought some heat. We're on um going on an hour and 52 minutes. And so like give me something that will set us up, get us ready, and through the rest of the week. Perry, you got the floor.
Man, I
Or Dr.
you know,
Campbell.
I
Wait, hold on.
is she here?
Okay. Tony, put Dr. Campbell in. She's in. She's backstage. Dr. Campbell's backstage. Perry, in the meantime, go ahead, give us something to close us out for the week. I'm gonna reach out to
Okay.
Tony and see
Yeah, I want to share
if we can
something
get
that I
him.
found. I want to share something that I learned this morning. I was in my wife and I were in this workshop with a financial consultant, and it was about LLCs or any business structure that you may have. It ranged from LLCs to S corps, C corps, nonprofits. Uh, but the she made one great comment, and that is if you are signing any document for your business, LLC, S corp, nonprofit, make sure you distinguish yourself by your signature. If you have an LLC, that means that you do have some operating agreements in place, which says that what the roles and responsibilities of the single member or multi members are. But when you sign documents, whether it be checks, contracts, whatever, make sure you identify your signature. And that means that when you sign your name, you put comma, you are an operating agent. First, specify the business name, then your signature and your role. That being said, is because while we create these LLCs, whether it be for tax reasons or whatever business reasons, we have to make sure we separate ourselves from our business. And what they've seen among more minority business owners is we get caught in these clutches because now when it's time to get a loan, now they're asking you for your personal records because you've been signing your name as the agent and now you're the business when really your business is what you're asking the loan for. And because we don't know many of these small requirements
Yeah.
is how we end up. You created a LLC, a limited liability, to limit your liability. But as soon as you sign your name on that dotted line without specifying who you are, you and the entity have become one, and everything you set up can now be at risk.
Hmm.
So I share that with you because she said it, and for many of us, it was profound. Understand whenever you sign a document, who you are signing that document as, especially if you're representing your business.
Good information, brother. Dang good information. Dustin, give us something for the week, man.
As a veteran, I like to
Tony out of
point,
there.
I like to point out a fact that they always, they like throw numbers out there. So I like, answering people with numbers. So 7% of Americans have worn a military uniform at one point or another. Just seven, keeping the country free for 100% of all the Americans. So why is it that several politicians are taking aim at about 6%, 5 to 6% of that 7% that are receiving benefits in order to move the money to the 1% who ain't done nothing for this country?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Y'all, y'all, y'all,
Man,
y'all let that sink in.
that's why all I could say was, hmm. Don't worry, we'll wait.
Hmm.
As service members, we'll wait. Man, I definitely, I definitely appreciated the conversations we had this potluck. I like flipping the table a little bit, changing things up. You know, um, again, this was episode 54. This is why we do this so that we could engage one with each other, so that we could have decent conversation and not to act like we know everything, but to stop acting like we shouldn't question anything, right? And so we talked about, things that happen not only on a local level, county or state level, specified here to Beaumont, Texas, but we talked about things that actually plague this entire nation, right? And even if you look at it on a global standpoint, it hits y'all on a global front as well. We talked structure, right? We talked real life impacts, and then we also went elsewhere deeper. And I enjoyed, those conversations because sometimes the biggest shifts ain't what's said out loud. They are um, in what's seen sitting quietly the whole time. Um, my word or message for the week is to pay attention, detailed attention. I'm a part of that that percentage that Dustin just mentioned, and one of the things we would say is pay attention to detail. Pay attention to detail. So yeah, that's what I would ask you all: is pay attention to what you see, pay attention to what you do, pay attention to what you don't see, because somebody that didn't that although you didn't see it is somebody that did. And pay attention to what you never thought you to look for, right? I definitely want y'all to pay attention to that. Being that I got Dr. Campbell back on, I hope you called our co-host, woke him on up. Dr. Campbell, give us something that's gonna set us out for the week, for the rest of the week.
Oh, y'all can see me now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can see you now.
You threw me off. Okay.
All the
Uh,
way off because I was like, where's she at?
Um, let me see here. Let's just train our children the way they should go so that some of this madness can stop.
Man, I agree. Um, I agree. And that was the cherry on the top, if you ask me. Again, thank you all for tuning in to our Facebook watchers and listeners, all platforms. We thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay prayed up, stay prayed up, stay prayed up. God bless. Have a good night.